Hello everyone, my name is Jacob and today I thought I was going to read some short classics for this video. I have been reading a lot of classics lately and I've been really enjoying them, and I'm trying to read more of them, especially the ones that I already own. And I was looking at my bookshelves and I was thinking I have a lot of very short classics here that I can knock out pretty fast, I believe. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll just film it. This video won't be anything fancy. It's just gonna be me reading. The first one I have here is The Picture of Dorian Gray. I got this for my birthday a few months ago and I still haven't gotten to it. And you know, it's 230 pages. Hopefully it will go pretty fast. I have learned that like if I'm bored with a book, I have a tendency to not DNF but read very slowly. And I don't like to read multiple books at once, so it may take longer if I'm really not enjoying these books. But I've really only heard great things about this one, so I'm going to get into it and I'll catch up with you later on. Okay, I've read a few chapters. I'm on only page 30. So far, so good. I have been enjoying the writing so far. There's a lot of dialogue, which has been really nice because a lot of the books I have been reading recently have not had a lot of that, and I've been kind of struggling with it. I don't know if I'm like going into a reading slump or something, but I'm having a hard time just focusing on the story. My mind drifts other places, and my attention span lately has been so bad. That's why I thought shorter books would do the trick. But I'm still, it captivates me, just sometimes my mind drifts. So far so good. Okay, it's about this painter, and he's painting this portrait of Dorian Gray, and his friend, which is some kind of lord, is also there. And both the painter and this lord get infatuated with Dorian Gray, and they think he's so youthful and so beautiful. They think the portrait of him is just the loveliest thing ever created, and the lord wants to keep it for himself, but it is gifted to Dorian Gray, and he starts becoming obsessed with the idea that the painting will forever remain youthful and beautiful while he will age and become ugly, and that beauty and youthfulness is the only things that matter in life. That's how far I've gotten now, and I'll keep reading. Okay, I read a lot more. On page 150, chapter 12. I'm really loving this book. And this book is doing exactly what I want a classic to do. It is able to talk about so much, and it's so proficient in its language. You know, it's talking about art, it's talking about adulthood, childhood, the corruption of when you get older. It's talking about conscience. It's talking about so much in so few pages. The prose are very nice. This beautiful writing. There was one passage pretty early on in the book where he was discussing a philosophy that he was just making up on the spot. How he described that conversation, it was just so beautiful. A lot of this is dialogue, and it's great dialogue. It's captivating. He doesn't really yap. There was, okay, the last chapter I read, chapter 11, there was a lot of yapping, talking about like historical context of things, but I think it plays a part in, you know, in Dorian Gray looking at his life in historical proportions, I guess I would say. I haven't really had time to like make up my mind about what everything means and really think about this. But I'm loving it. I'm gonna keep reading it. Just exactly what I want in a classic. It's super great. I actually didn't know that Dorian Gray was a character in this. I thought that it was the picture that was Dorian Gray, and it was just a portrait of somebody else, and that it wasn't a character. But he's the main character in this. So far so good. I'm gonna keep reading. I'll probably update you next time when I'm finished with this. Probably. I want to film with like cozy lighting. It's kind of hard because I'm filming on my phone, so the quality isn't that great, but I think it's kind of a nice setup right here, so we'll see. I'm experimenting. I have finished this Picture of Dorian Gray, and let me just say, this is great. I finished it. This is my first 5-star of the year. I think I was able to do so much in these few pages, and this is like exactly why I read the classics. It is an interesting story and an interesting premise, while also being so efficient in what he's trying to say. In 230 pages, he's able to talk about art, he's able to talk about conscience, youth, corruption of the young, of corruption of the soul, beauty, sexuality. So much that he's able to talk about in these few pages, and it's not boring. He almost never yaps. There's one chapter where it was like kind of hard to get through, where we was talking about like the history of all these things that Dorian Gray owned. But other than that one chapter, this is just always interesting, and there's always something happening. This is like exactly what I want from a classic. Sometimes they're very long and you don't feel like you're getting much out of it. This is the exact opposite. This is very short, and I felt I got so much out of it. And just the 10 pages of biography for Oscar Wilde at the back was also so interesting. I want to read more, and I want to know more about Oscar Wilde. You have to pick this up. And I don't think Oscar Wilde has any more novels, but I know he has like other plays and stuff, and maybe some short stories, so I'll check that out eventually. I got kind of carried away because the next book I was going to read was from this collection right here, the Penny Dreadfuls, and I was going to read... Yes, I was going to read The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Problem is that I've already read it. I got kind of carried away and I just ended up reading the entire thing. It's very short. In this edition it was 50 pages, I think. And I mean, it's a lot of text on each page, but still not long at all. And this too was also so great. I mean, just the premise. I don't know, can I like spoil this? Because I feel like everyone knows, even if you don't read, even if you don't care. Everyone just knows about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I guess I'll be kind of vague about it. It talks about a lot of the same things as Dorian Gray, which is, you know, the corruption of the soul of humans, and what would we do if we were free from constraint, if there was no social law or any law really that were holding us back and we could do whatever we wanted. What would we do? And this one is kind of a bit more dreary, kind of more of a horror novel, I guess. It was more horror than The Picture of Dorian Gray was. It still talked about a lot of the same things, and I also thought it was interesting when I read this back to back how they were both very focused on the look of an evil person, that doing evil deeds and sinning makes you ugly on the outside. They were showing the ugliness inside through the exterior, both with, you know, The Picture of Dorian Gray. Of course, it's the picture that's getting ugly instead of the man himself, while in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know, the evil person is very ugly and people think he's deformed. I thought it was very interesting. I would have given The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde 5 stars as well if it was a bit longer. You know, it's very much just like, it gets to the point. You don't really get to dive very deep into the topic. It's that efficiency, how he's able to tell a story and get a lot of messages and themes across in 50 pages. You know, who's able to do that and make a classics that's so short. These two, if you like one, check out the other. Next and last is from another collection, the Dracula Book of Great Vampire Stories. Beautiful. And the one I'm going to read is Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. Okay, I can't say that. I'm going to read Carmilla. I'm going to get started and I'll update you later. I've been reading a bit of Carmilla, just like a few pages in. I don't have it right here. So far it's, you know, pretty typical of a gothic story from that period. I've read a lot of it, mostly ghost stories, but, you know, vampire stories, different gothic horror stories, and this one isn't that much different, but I love it. I love the vibes, so I'm enjoying it. Carmilla is now staying with this family. She's kind of weird, but nothing's been like too crazy so far. So I'll update you further when I'm done, because it's very short. I wanted to share a book pickup that I did yesterday, because I was downtown and my friend was going to go and buy some books, and then I joined him, and then I wanted to buy a book. I'll just show it to you. This is The Death of Ivan Illich. I don't know how you pronounce that name. And Other Stories by Tolstoy. I was originally looking for like the little penguin black, I don't know what you call it, those like mini ones that are like just one short story, but I couldn't find it. I was like checking the website and couldn't find it, so I just picked this one up instead. Thought, okay, I'll just pay the little bit extra and get some more stories. But I was quite lucky, because at that, like, there's like a franchise of bookstores where in Norway, and I bought this from there, and you get like the 5th pocket for free. I didn't know that I had gotten that far already, but I got this for free, so I'm happy. And it's my first Tolstoy. I heard somewhere that you're supposed to start with the death of Ivan Illich. I don't know if that's the best place to start or whatever, but you know, I didn't want to jump into like War and Peace or Anna Karenina because they're so long. I'm going out to a new bookstore that's opened pretty close by, just like a 10 minutes with the train. I'm going to check it out. Probably won't buy anything. I'm trying to buy less books. I've only bought one book this year so far, and then this one now, but this one I got for free, so it doesn't like really count. And you know, it's Tolstoy and I want to read more Russian classics this year, so you know, that's my excuse. Okay, I have quite a big update. I went to one new bookstore with both used and new books, and then I went to one just normal thrift store where they also had books. And I know I said to myself, oh, I'm not going to buy so many books this year, but when you actually find books that you want in English, because that's quite rare here in Norway for me, I just had to go for it. So I have a lot of books. You know, I think I already told you about The Death of Ivan Illich. And then I got 5 books from just the normal thrift store, because I think someone gave away their entire collection of this one author. I can start with the 2 books I have already read, Small Things Like These and Faster by Claire Keegan. These are very small, very short, and I loaned these from the library like around Christmas time, and they're so great, and I want to buy them because, especially Small Things Like These, I think I just want to read every year around Christmas time. It just was so perfect. That ending was really uplifting. It actually like inspired me. Foster also hit me deep in my heart, and it's so short. You can get through this in a day. And you know, if you have friends who don't read, just recommend them Claire Keegan, because they're so short and you can get through it in a day and they're going to love it. I never heard anyone say that they didn't like one of these 2 books. It was like $2 for each book here. And then I got this very small one, The Forester's Daughter, also by Claire Keegan. Never even heard of it. Just saw that it was Claire Keegan that I hadn't read. You know, excited to get into this. Really quick read, you know, not much text on each page. 67 pages, and it's like that much text. And I kind of messed up because I also bought this, Walk in the Blue Fields. I had never heard of this before, never seen this. And I just saw all this Claire Keegan stuff, and I was okay, I'm gonna grab everything. But it turns out this is a short story collection, and in this collection we have The Forester's Daughter. I didn't really need to get both of these. I really like this copy. I think that the cover is beautiful. So if I really love the story, I'll keep both. If I think it's just all right, maybe I'll give this one away or do something with it. And I have read Antarctica by Claire Keegan, which is another short story collection. I have no idea how many collections she has, how many novels. I don't know really anything. I see Claire Keegan and I buy it and I read it. And then at that same store I also found Shirley by Charlotte Bronte. I don't know, kind of hard for me to say that name. I have not read anything by Charlotte Bronte. I do have Jane Eyre up there just above the frame, and I have read The Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, which is one of my favorite classics of all time. Yeah, it seems to be like sort of romance, but also like sort of feminist-ish, looking at the the gender roles. I think I'm gonna like it, hopefully. Don't like this edition. I really do not like these Wordsworth classic editions. When you find it used for $2, I don't care. The last ones, I know this is a lot, the last ones I got was from another like classic female author, Emma and Persuasion by Jane Austen. I have not read any Jane Austen yet. Probably will do that sooner rather than later. But I just found these 2 editions and I thought it was pretty beautiful covers, really, and I want to read Jane Austen. Have not heard much about Persuasion, but it's not that long. I love these paperbacks. They're so nice and floppy. And especially Emma's, because it's bigger, it holds open on its own. And I've heard so much great stuff about Emma. I feel like Pride and Prejudice is probably Jane Austen's most popular novel, but I feel like I hear more people who read a lot of Jane Austen, saying that their favorite is Emma. But I just thought these 2 editions very beautiful and I want to read them. This is the stack I've gotten. I read like 2 of these already, so I'm not like too hard on myself, and I got them used or for free. Reading update, I've finished Carmilla. The thing is, it is a pretty typical like classic gothic story, if I'm being honest. A person comes into this castle and mysterious things start to happen and there's vampires involved. It isn't really that much more to say. It was more of like a fun, entertaining story, but it's not really something that has stayed with me. I'm happy I read it, but no, nothing really that special, you know. If you like that kind of story, like, I mean, I had a good time and I loved like classic gothic stories, but this one isn't like the best one I read. It isn't really anything that special in my opinion. But I think that's going to be it. I read 3 novels. Admittedly short novels, but still 3 novels. The Picture of Dorian Gray, which was my favorite book so far this year. I thought that his ability to get so much across in so few pages while still feeling with the characters, to get to know these characters and having a plot that actually moves forward and things are happening. It was just so impressive. 5 stars, the best book I read so far this year. And then I read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which I also loved. As good as Picture of Dorian Gray, no, but it had a lot of the same vibes. Kind of was more eerie, kind of a bit more creepy than Picture of Dorian Gray, but they did have a lot in common, I thought, and it was fun to read them back to back. And that's it for me. Thank you, and I'll see you hopefully some other time.